So this was posted on Reddit originally, and Shadzar on Twitch and YouTube, he brought it to my attention, and I don't think I looked at it too closely. Then people were talking about it on the forums. They said, "Oh, look at this thing on Reddit," and so my knee-jerk reaction was to say, "This is fake. This is fake news. This is just one of those." Because I was so frustrated with how, well, not that frustrated, but a little bit frustrated with the fact that you'd have these different websites who would post links saying pre-order HeroQuest, buy HeroQuest, order HeroQuest, and then as soon as people start asking questions, they would take the link down, or somebody would say, "Wait a minute, that's not, there's incorrect information." So I dismissed it. I just said, prove it. It's fake. It's probably fake. It's probably not real. Because the person on Reddit had just posted, it looked like they had taken their camera and taken a picture of their screen. Someone else said, "Oh no, it was a print ad." Well, anyway, it turns out I was wrong. It's real. It's on GameStop Canada's website, and it's just as you see here. And it's not like if you use the advanced search and you try to look through collectibles, it's not there. But it is in their holiday gift guide, so it's kind of hard to find. It's like buried. But it says 179.99. That's in Canadian dollars, of course. By Hasbro. Expansion pack HeroQuest Knight character. English. Also available for $25.99. GameStop exclusive. 761978 available in November. Well, it's November 13th as we speak. So the question is, okay, so it's on the website, so apparently it's real. I mean, it's the weekend, so you can't call their hotline to ask questions, or you just get a recording saying call back during normal business hours. Convenient. You can send an email, which I did, just asking for more information, because there really isn't much here. I mean, you've got this stock photo. This picture has been seen before. Notice how the black dice, or I mean, the red dice have black pips. That's not correct. Final version isn't that way. So it's a stock photo. And it says expansion pack HeroQuest Knight character. Well, does this tie in with that Twitter tease? I guess we'll find out Monday. So I guess best case scenario, what people are speculating and probably hoping for is that Hasbro is going to tell us in some form or another that, hey, there's a brand new character, a brand new hero called a knight that we've created, and there's a new miniature, and who knows? Will he have new abilities? This will be a whole new hero character. Does he get spells? Does he get a quest pack? Who knows? But I can already hear like the collectors, being annoyed by this because it's like, oh, one more thing I have to buy, and then scalpers being grateful that there's another thing they could scalp. But my knee jerk reaction was to say this is fake. This is another one of those things where they put it up on the website and then they take it down because it wasn't accurate, it wasn't real. But I mean, for now, it does appear that maybe they really are going to create a new character, and maybe in Canada at least, only GameStop people are going to get it. My original thought was, no, that's not what this is. This is just like the Heroic Tier remake Hero Quest, and the knight is Sir Ragnar because he's a knight. But then the question was brought up, well, but isn't the knight supposed to be a Hasbro Pulse exclusive that was only for people who pledged? So maybe that's a redesigned version. Maybe this is speculation. Maybe it's Sir Ragnar in his armor and everything with a shield and a sword. Maybe because the Sir Ragnar that we got in the Mythic tier in the pledge, I should correct that. So the way that you got the Sir Ragnar figure originally is if you pledged. So last year, if you pledged online to order HeroQuest, either the heroic or the mythic, didn't matter. You got the Sir Ragnar figure. And he's got like a long beard. I guess technically he is wearing a shirt. At first I was thinking he was shirtless, but I guess he's got some rags. And he's got a torch in his hand. And they call him Sir Ragnar. And he's a red hero figure, but he doesn't have any card. He doesn't have any spells because all he is in the original game in Quest 2, you rescue Sir Ragnar and normally you use the Chaos Warlock figure, which in this case would be the generic Dread Sorcerer. But the idea was, oh, you can have a Sir Ragnar figure to use for him. Isn't that cool? Well, what if this new rumored, apparently real figure is him as a knight? That'd be kind of cool. Now, it would be strange to give Canadian GameStop um, people a knight who has a shield and a sword because in the quest, when you rescue him, he can't fight. He's a wounded knight. All you can do is escort him to safety. Now, a lot of players over the years have speculated, well, what if we heal him? What if we hand him a weapon? Well, according to the base rules as written, he can't fight. So him having a suit of armor, fully equipped, and then he just can't use it would be kind of strange. But it would be cool to kind of make your own adventures with Sir Ragnar or some generic knight figure. Now, other people have speculated and said, well, maybe it's not that. I mean, the fact that they call it an expansion pack, the fact that they call it a knight character instead of Sir Ragnar, implies that it's going to be something totally new that we've never seen before in the remake realm. There's no pictures, there's no other information, so that's kind of makes me skeptical, gets my skeptical wheels turning. But what if it's one of these brand new heroes, maybe that's inspired by something from the past? People have pointed out that in Advanced Hero Quest, the warrior, the barbarian, he looks like a knight on foot. He's in full armor. I think he's got a sword and a shield. I haven't looked at Advanced Hero Quest in ages. Advanced Hero Quest was kind of obscure. It was a Games Workshop exclusive project that was in Europe, and it had a modular dungeon. Did it have D10s or D8s? But it had different. It didn't just use the standard Hero Quest six-sided dice. It had its own, and you were supposed to snap the miniatures together with the round bases, and you were supposed to paint it. It was much more of a old school like fantasy RPG as opposed to HeroQuest, which was a board game. Stephen Baker wanted to boil that tabletop fantasy game into a board game. And actually, Milton Bradley insisted that he do that, so they kept making him simplify it until we got what we got in 1989 and 1990 in the US. Well, so it might be like that character, that knight, or it might be like in 1994 there was a game called HeroQuest 2. Yes, HeroQuest Roman numeral 2, Legacy of Sorasil. Legacy of Sorasil, and it was a video game, but it was obviously based on and inspired by HeroQuest, the board game, which also had a video game in 1991, re-released in 1995 on DOS and Amiga and a whole bunch of Atari ST, a whole bunch of other computer systems. But it was just like, putting Monopoly in a video game format. You're playing the board game by yourself on a computer. That's all it is. So it's an interpretation of the game. Well, Legacy of Sorasil kind of took it a step further, and it added a whole bunch of content that a lot of people have labeled Dungeons and Dragons. So there were like beholders. So those monsters, it's like a ball with a bunch of eyes, and vampires and Miremans, like swamp creatures, and the dungeons it wasn't just a dungeon. You'd go inside, you go outside, and a lot of folks said it wasn't that good of a game. It was kind of tedious. There's a lot of clicking and clicking and clicking. And I think it takes place, you have to find two talismans of lore, and it's a whole different plot. You're not fighting for, I think it's not Mentor, it's somebody else that's sending you on the mission. So it's a kind of far removed from the Hero Quest lore, if you will. But I think in that one they called the barbarian like the warrior, and they called the elf the adventurer, and there was of course a wizard and a dwarf, and then there was or was it the dwarf who was called the adventurer? I don't know. They changed some of the titles around, but it was clearly the four classic heroes. But then they also had a mystic, a ranger, a cleric, and a paladin. Now, what do you think of when you think of a paladin? You think of a guy in armor, right? With sword and shield. So that was my other thought. Well, maybe this knight, if it is a brand new character, could be like the paladin. So what would a paladin have? Well, obviously he'd be a fighter. Maybe he would have some advantage with armor. Maybe he would start with armor. It'd be nice to have starting armor for a hero finally. Maybe he has some abilities to fight the undead or something. Because if you think about it, otherwise a knight, how would he be different than a barbarian? Just a guy with a lot of body points, or a strong weapon, or just durability in combat. What's the point? Now, so far, all the new heroes they've introduced in the remake through Hasbro have been spellcasters. Been pretty standard. They have 4 or 5 or 6 body points, 3 unique spells for that character, and they're not mentioned anywhere in the quest books except for the Orc Bard, or the Bard. He's mentioned in Spirit Queen's Torment, which I'll get to that later. So anyway, there's all kinds of speculation, and so pretty much everything I say now is going to be out of date probably in a week when we find out what the case is. My other thought when they were doing that post on Twitter was that this has nothing to do with any new expansion, except that all this time they've been teasing that they're going to remake and re-release the Barbarian Quest Pack, the Frozen Horror. In several videos, they've shown a mock-up poster or box that shows a redone version of the artwork of the 1992 Barbarian Quest Pack, which was called the Frozen Horror, which was only released in North America, and it was extremely hard, and most people never saw it except in a flyer that came with, I think, Keller's Keep and Return of the Witch Lord, and an order form that talked about the Frozen Terror and then the Frozen Horror. And people tried to order it, but they said, oh, this is no longer being produced. It was very short-lived. So I was thinking, when I saw that Twitter picture that Zargon's like, "Well, look at it on Monday," where it was a darkened silhouette of clearly a miniature, is, oh, this is probably the design of the female barbarian, because the Barbarian Quest Pack came with a female barbarian. She had a sword and a shield, and she was blue instead of red. Well, maybe they're just making her red, and that's what this is. So there's a redesigned barbarian figure, and I thought, that's pretty easy. That's pretty simple. Now, another thing about the Barbarian Quest Pack, the classic version from '92, is that it comes with mercenaries. And one of the mercenaries, because they all have different weapons, one of them has a sword and a shield, so it could be that character. And even though they were gray in the original, maybe they're making them red, just like they made all the heroes red in the remake. So I thought there's a couple possibilities there. So this could be another teaser about the Frozen Horror, but I think other people are hoping, hey, there's a brand new expansion with a knight character, and that's what this is. So anyway, and then the other thing was on YouTube for Avalon Hill, they released a little commercial, a little video where Stephen Baker, of course the OG of HeroQuest, is talking about the storyline, about recruiting the heroes from the ashes, from the huddled masses of people to go on an adventure. And why are they doing this for a product that's already been released? For people who have already bought the game? Are they just telling them, hey, enjoy this product that you've got already? People were speculating, well, maybe that means that they're about to announce the game as going to retail, meaning anybody can just buy it. Whether you go onto a website and order it and it comes to your house, or you go to a store and pick it up, that would be a retail release for the masses, which I think Hasbro would be foolish not to do, because that's the whole point of HeroQuest. It's not to just say, here's a collector's item that a few elite people are going to get in this tiny little window of time if they pledge, and nobody else gets it unless they go on eBay and spend, an exorbitant amount of money, like they were buying the ElfQuest pack or Wizards of Morkar for $800, which is absurd, and they're not even going to open it. They're just going to put it on their shelf or sell it again. So if the game comes to retail, I think that's a good thing, but they just haven't told us yet explicitly. Now, if this website is any indication, then at least some places it's coming to retail. So now, what is this really? This that you're seeing on your screen is the Canadian GameStop website. And I dismissed it as fake originally because when I went to the Canadian GameStop website, I couldn't find it anywhere. I used the advanced search. I went into the collectibles section. I was typing in everything I could think of. It wasn't there at all. Turns out I was wrong. Shadzar he corrected me. He showed me that actually what it is there's this holiday guide, this holiday gift guide. Page 25 is what it actually is. And if you go there, sure enough, there it is, just like people were saying. So I was wrong. So thanks for the correction. Let me just pull up another page here just to show you what I'm talking about. So this right here, see this? That is what it is. Let me just show you. Should be GameStop. Okay, so this is real. This is not just a screenshot or something. But you can go there yourself. It's www.gamestop.ca/capital G lowercase IFT uppercase G UIDE uppercase P A lowercase AGE 25. So www.gamestop.ca/gift guide page 25. And unless they take it down, apparently it's real. So I send them an email just asking for more information. What is this night expansion and what does it entail? So I guess maybe we'll find out. Anyway, long story short, there have been some updates in the HeroQuest world. So there might be a new expansion coming. There's at least a new figure coming. The question is, where does it fit in? Is this an alternate version of Sir Ragnar that the masses are going to get when they buy the game? Is this a new expansion that only certain people will get if they buy it from a certain store? Is this another part of the Frozen Horror that they're finally going to acknowledge is really coming out? And maybe they'll tell us some clue when it's coming out. Is it coming out in 2022? What's happening? But that ad says November, so that makes it sound like it's already done and it's coming out. Is that accurate? Or are they going to retract it? Who knows? So anyway, all that rumor mill stuff aside, let's get to what I originally was going to talk about. So special thanks, of course, to Dead Gamer for all of his spoilers that he released. Go check him out on YouTube. Thanks again to Cosmic Tavern. He did a second video on YouTube where, of course, he did the first unboxing, but now he did one where he points out that you can just take the stuff from your Mythic tier and just consolidate it all into one box by getting rid of the trays. Pretty simple solution because it's kind of unwieldy to have 4 boxes, and it takes a while to open. It takes like 5 minutes to open each box because there's just so much air compressed in there because it's all packed in there so tightly. But anyway, what I want to do is I want to talk about some more changes from the game. So if you look at the rule book here, I read this whole thing in a video just to show you how it was different than the 1990 European version. Because, we talk about the EU rules, the UK rules from the original version of the game, and then the North American rules, which this is based on, and how it's changed. Well, a couple of other things. There's story material. I'm interested in the story material. So let's just look at the quest book. These are the 14 quests. This is the game system remake. And again, Dead Gamer, he showed me all this stuff ahead of time, so I know where to look. So it was invaluable help. So you look at the storyline. So I'm just going to go ahead and read this off to you. So this is the 2021 remake version. The fire burns warmly, but casts little light into Mentor's study. The flickering shadows only hint at the vast number of books and scrolls that fill the many shelves. Slowly, Mentor walks over to the fire. Well, my friends, your training is complete. You are not yet true heroes, but you have yet to prove yourselves. But first, let me tell you of Zargon. Many centuries ago, Zargon was my apprentice. The young sorcerer worked hard and learned quickly, but impatience devoured Zargon, who wanted to learn more powerful magic. I spoke of the dangers and cautioned patience, for in time my apprentice would become a great sorcerer. But Zargon could not wait, breaking into my study each night to read my spell books. The secrets held within them were great indeed. Upon learning these secrets, Zargon fled. When I caught up with Zargon, I found my former apprentice greatly changed, having pledged allegiance to the great powers of dread. Fool! Zargon saw magic only as a shortcut to power and paid no heed to the terrible price that would have to be paid. I tried to reason with Zargon, but to no avail. The evil sorcerer laughed in my face, and then unleashed a terrible spell that I was hard pressed to counter. For many days we battled, but Zargon had allies stronger even than I, and I could not defeat them. In the end, as we both weakened, Zargon fled and sought refuge in the northern dread wastes, where the evil sorcerer licked battle wounds and honed skills, conjuring ancient powers with which to overthrow the realm. I must observe and measure the strength of Zargon's magic. The powers the evil sorcerer has called upon will destroy us all if I relax from this vigil. Zargon's legions threatened us once before. Then it was Rogar who aided me and defeated them. Now they are on the march again. Already they have assailed the borderlands. The realm must again look for heroes, and to this end have I trained you. Each of you must complete 14 quests. If you do this, you will be acclaimed as champions of the realm and dubbed sovereign knights. Only then will you be on the road to becoming true heroes. I shall speak with you again on your return, if you return. That's page 3. So I just wanted to read that off and show you the changes. So I don't have a printed copy, but I'm going to go ahead and read off what the game looks like storyline wise in that same section in the original version. So there was a 1989 Premier Edition in the UK, and then there was a second edition in 1990. So this is what the European version sounds like. Same section. The fire burns warmly, but casts little light into Mentor's study. The flickering shadows only hint at the vast number of books and scrolls that fill the many shelves. Slowly, Mentor walks over to the fire. Well, my friends, your training is complete. You are not yet heroes. You have yet to prove yourselves. But first, let me tell you of Morcar. Many centuries ago, Morcar was my apprentice. He worked hard and learned quickly, but impatience devoured him, and he wanted to learn more powerful magic. I told him of the dangers, and that he should be patient, for in time he would become a great wizard. But Morcar could not wait. Each night he broke into my study and read my spell books. The secrets that were held within were great indeed. Once he had learnt these secrets, Morcar fled. When I caught up with him, I found him greatly changed. He had pledged his allegiance to the great powers of chaos. Fool! He saw magic only as a shortcut to power, and paid no heed to the terrible price he would have to pay. I tried to reason with him, but to no avail. He laughed in my face, and then unleashed a terrible spell, which I was hard pressed to counter. For many days we battled, but Morcar had allies stronger even than I, and I could not defeat him. In the end, as we both weakened, he fled and sought refuge in the northern chaos wastes. There he licked his wounds and honed his skills, conjuring ancient powers with which to overthrow the empire. But he knows not what he has done. They will serve him while it suits their own dark purposes, but in time they will destroy him. I must watch Morcar and measure the strength of his magic. This I may do with the help of Lortome. The powers Morcar has called upon will destroy us all if I relax from this vigil. Morcar's legions have threatened us once before. Then it was Rogar who aided me and defeated them. Now they are on the march again. Already they have assailed the borderlands. The Empire must again look for heroes, and to this end have I trained you. Each of you must complete 3 tasks. If you do this, you will be acclaimed as champions of the realm and dubbed Imperial Knights. Then you will truly be on the road to becoming a hero. I shall speak with you again on your return, if you return. And it shows a picture of Mentor Seal. So that was page 3 of the European version from 1989 and 90. That section is identical in both versions. So interesting stuff, huh? So a bit of a change. So they talk about sovereign knights versus imperial knights, the realm versus the empire, dread versus chaos. A couple other things I wanted to point out. Let's see. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and just read this. So I just have a copy here of. Let's see. The North American version of HeroQuest from 1990. So this is the intro. So again, same section, and this is the version that Hasbro based their new version on. So this is the old one. The fire burns warmly, but casts little light into Mentor's study. The flickering shadows only hint at the vast number of books and scrolls that fill the many shelves. Slowly, Mentor walks over to the fire. Well, my friends, your training is complete. You are not yet true heroes. You have yet to prove yourselves. But first, let me tell you of Zargon. Many centuries ago, Zargon was my apprentice. He worked hard and learned quickly, but impatience devoured him. Actually, I can show you. Yep, there it is. And I do have the original. This is just a copy here that I'm reading because I didn't want to haul it out. Okay, many centuries ago. Okay, many centuries ago, Zargon was my apprentice. He worked hard and learned quickly, but impatience devoured him. He wanted to learn more powerful magic. I told him of the dangers, and that he should be patient, for in time he would become a great sorcerer. But Zargon could not wait. Each night he broke into my study and read my spell books. The secrets that were held within them were great indeed. Once he learned these secrets, Zargon fled. When I caught up with him, I found him greatly changed. He had pledged his allegiance to the great powers of chaos. Fool! He saw magic only as a shortcut to power and paid no heed to the terrible price he would have to pay. I tried to reason with him, but to no avail. He laughed in my face and then unleashed a terrible spell, which I was hard pressed to counter. For many days we battled, but Zargon had allies stronger even than I, and I could not defeat him. In the end, as we both weakened, he fled and sought refuge in the northern chaos wastes, where he licked his wounds and honed his skills, conjuring ancient powers with which to overthrow the Empire. I must watch Zargon and measure the strength of his magic. The power Zargon is called upon will destroy us all if I relax from this vigil. Zargon's legions threatened us once before. Then it was Rogar who aided me and defeated them. Now they are on the march again. Already they have assailed the borderlands. The Empire must again look for heroes, and to this end have I trained you. Each of you must complete 14 quests. If you do this, you will be acclaimed as champions of the realm and dubbed Imperial Knights. Only then will you be on the road to becoming true heroes. I shall speak with you again on your return, if you return. So what you're seeing is actually a recreation. The text has been reformatted by someone called Phoenix, who is associated with Ye Olde Inn. Hasn't been seen in ages, but Phoenix put all these together, and it's pretty cool. Now, a couple editorial changes have been made here and there, but more or less this is exactly what it would have looked like. So there is a reference to Champions of the Realm. So the term the Realm was in use back in the day, but it was clearly meant to be the Empire, which Games Workshop has, that's part of the Warhammer Fantasy world. So third edition of Warhammer Fantasy was kind of the bedrock, the fertile soil for HeroQuest, the original version of HeroQuest. And that influence lessened over time. In the North American version, you see a little bit less of it. And then, of course, in this new version, they've completely tried to change anything that would point too closely to it, which makes sense for trademark or copyright reasons, IP reasons. So there's some other changes. There's a whole storyline section. So at the beginning of this quest book, you get the preview, the introduction, and at the end there's the conclusion. And of course that's full of spoilers. I think I'm going to cover that in a different video. But Return of the Witch Lord, Keller's Keep is the same way. There's an intro and an outro. And in the original version, things are a little more formal. There's a couple more details, and then it's simplified a little bit, and a couple sentences are removed for the for the North American version. And in this version, they've simplified it just a little bit more. Mainly, apparently, Zargon, they never say he or him. They'll just say Zargon, 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 or they'll call him the young sorcerer or the evil sorcerer. They'll never say he or him. So I guess they just want to make him Zargon really generic. And I keep pointing to him. That's actually Mentor. That's not Zargon. When we grew up playing the North American version, we thought that guy right there, that's Zargon. That's the evil sorcerer. But according to this, I mean, you've got Mentor Seal there. They say this is Mentor. And depending on what version of HeroQuest you look at, what material, then that was always the case. Stephen Baker wanted this to be Mentor. But if you look at the sticker album, this is Morcar with the red cape, and then Mentor is another guy who wears blue. That was our inspiration for having the red and blue wizards. They look the same except one wears red, one wears blue. And then in the comic book, the Marvel Winter Special, the guy with the red cape is Mentor, and Zargon is this, or not Zargon, they called him Morcar in the European version. He looks like Skeletor with a hood on. He's got like blue skin and sharp talons. And in the PC game, it's a little bit unclear, but you've got these two wizards. You've got the evil Santa looking guy with the red cape, and then you've also got this, I don't know, kind of elf looking guy with pointed ears and kind of a sharp chin and pointy nose and kind of warts. It's like, okay, well, he kind of looks kind of spooky, kind of scary. Maybe that's supposed to be Morcar. But who knows, right? But I think the intention behind the original designer was this is Mentor. But whatever you want to call him, because it doesn't change anything. You've got the evil sorcerer character, and then you've got the good sorcerer that gives you the mission, and then you've got the heroes. Well, anyway, yeah. So the realm and the king replace the empire and so forth, the emperor. But what are some other changes? So one thing that I noticed here in the rule book in the new version, so it's talking about the four heroes that originally saved the realm from Zargon's forces. Ladril, the elven fighter mage from the distant Elathorn. Well, it's Athelorn in the original, Athelorn with an A, and they changed it to Elathorn. So again, just probably something that was a little too close to a Games Workshop IP, and so they changed it. World's End Mountains. Yeah, World's End Mountains is where Durgan, the fearless dwarven warrior, was from. So instead of the World's Edge Mountains, which was the original version, the Warhammer Old World lore. And so some things have changed there, little things like that. Another thing I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, there's a shocking plot twist at the end of Return of the Witch Lord if you played the European version. Um, you know what? I'm just going to get into it. So there's major spoilers here, major spoilers. So let me go to that now. I just don't have the energy right now to go through all this. Somebody else can do it if they want to, of course. Beat me to it, or you just know. But at the end of the Return of the Witch Lord, and this is not part of the North American version at all, is... Oh, I don't even have it queued up. Well, I'll just tell you. So Sir Ragnar is a traitor. What? He's a traitor. So in the North American version that I grew up with of HeroQuest, you rescue Sir Ragnar in the game system. Great, he's back. You know, he was one of the Emperor's bravest knights. He's obviously a good guy, right? Well, in the European version that came out in 1989, same thing, okay? But when Return of the Witch Lord, which was released first in Europe, at the end of after you've beaten the whole adventure, it says that Sir Ragnar was a traitor and he was executed for treason. Huh? So they just kind of threw that in there. Well, good job. Sorry. Good job. You won everything. And by the way, the guy that you saved was a traitor and we killed him. What? So I was shocked to see that. That whole line about him being a traitor and being executed was not in the version that we grew up with. So for all those decades, we had no idea that that was the original intention. And I don't think that that is in here. I could look, but I'm pretty sure there's nothing about him being a traitor. But I'm going to just confirm that right now. I could look at Dead Gamer's video, but I would rather just see it with my own eyes for now. And probably I can pull the box out here a little bit quicker. So here we go. Obviously major spoilers. But again, it doesn't really add anything to the story, just kind of a bittersweet ending. So let's see. This is the Return of the Witch Lord, and you got the whole story, beginning. There's the storyline, and you can compare that. So, Plains of Death, blah, blah, blah. The end. Okay, here's the ending spoiled. Skullmar. You never catch up with Skullmar, so that's just an adventure for you to create yourself. The king. Yeah, nothing about the traitor is Sir Ragnar. So as far as you know, Sir Ragnar's still a good guy. His story ended after you rescued him. That was it. Maybe he was forced to retire. But, that could be fodder for other quests. And I think that's kind of what they were thinking with the original is they'll tell you these little glimpses of lore and you can just that's inspiration for you to come up with your own quests. You know, if you want to have the adventure where you go track down Skullmar or find out why Sir Ragnar turned traitor, or did he really turn traitor? Was he really executed, or whatever? Okay. The other thing I wanted to talk about, just make sure my microphone's okay here, is the Spirit Queen's Torment. So this was going to be a really controversial one because the whole question is, are they changing the lore about the orcs in HeroQuest? Because they always started with that Warhammer Fantasy Battle 3rd edition idea is that they're servants of chaos, they're bad guys, they're evil, they delight in cruelty and slaughter, they've enslaved goblin tribes. The orcs are pretty bad dudes, right? And so, just like in so much fantasy fiction, they're the evil drones, the army that you wipe out, and you don't have any moral qualms about killing them all. Well, the question is, were they always evil? Did something turn them evil? Are there any good orcs? So there were all these hints that there were going to be good orcs. And people were like, what? This is changing the whole storyline. This is a different game because Dungeons and Dragons does that and Warcraft did that. And well, whatever. So are they killing machines that were bred by the enemy, or are they were just corrupted, and or some of them are bad and not necessarily all of them? Well, at the end of the first quest book, they do make it clear that they have changed the orcs. See that? So there are some of them that are allied to the evil sorcerer. So basically, Zargon's orcs are bad guys, but not necessarily every orc that has ever existed. So there might be out there neutral or good orcs. I don't really have a problem with that. Not a big deal. And the game doesn't play any differently. And I can just imagine that background, but it's just you're allowed to fill it in for yourself as far as the official lore goes. It doesn't affect the game at all. But the question is, how is this quest book by Teo Sabadia going to change that? So as you look in here, you can see, and I've covered this a little bit. So this Bard character, people made fun of this. They said, okay, he looks like a pirate, but why is he a singing minstrel? That's kind of strange. Why would you pick that to be an orc? Why not like an orc warrior or even an orc pirate? I don't know. It just doesn't seem very orc-like from what people imagine orcs to be. But the orcs in HeroQuest are not really fleshed out very much. So I guess it could be anything. But yeah, a lot of people thought this was silly. So they created these 3 new heroes, the Bard, the Warlock, and the Druid. And there's no instructions given on how to use them other than here's a character, here's 3 spells. That's it. They're not introduced in any quests. They're not explained. They didn't change anything to adapt those heroes. They're just extras. And only people that got Mythic Tier got them. Well, the Bard is a little bit different because as you can see here, as I've been showing you, there are instructions on how to use him. So you can play as him in this quest pack only. You can play as him. So presumably you've still got 4 heroes, but maybe one of them you swap out for the Bard. And one time, let's see. Okay, let me just read it. Players may choose to play the Bard hero for this quest book. In addition, Once the heroes have found Sigil in Quest 3, so spoilers there, it's a character. That's the servant of this elf diviner who works for Mentor. Okay. After they have found Sigil in Quest 3, they gain an additional benefit, representing how Sigil and later Uldren can help the characters. If no one is playing the Bard hero and a hero dies, place the Bard hero in the room with the dead hero. The player of the dead hero now controls the Bard hero and can immediately pick up any items held by the fallen hero. The Bard hero may not take actions on the turn they appear. The appearance of the Bard hero in this way may only happen once during the quest series. So basically, one hero that dies comes back as this guy. So I guess you just imagine it playing out. He gets reincarnated as an orc, or just this guy was just hiding in the shadows and just kind of jumps out and like, hey, I'll take over from here. Like, all right. So it's kind of strange, kind of weird, but there it is. So I guess you get an extra life in a sense. And he gets the 3 spells. Now, the way they talk about it, okay, so sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, number 5, controlling allies. Several quests allow the heroes to find allies. Once found, a player controls the ally. The player takes their regular turn and then the ally's turn. The ally is treated as a hero by all monsters and traps, but does not take a share of any treasure. This part is a little confusing to me because when you look at there's 2 quests where this is the case. You're supposed to search for an orc ally in certain quests. They tell you specifically to do that. So I guess you enter a room and there's a bunch of orcs and I'm searching for an orc ally. Well, there's no orc ally here. But let's say you do find one, well, then that orc is now under your control. But the thing is, they don't say use the bard character. Are they expecting you to take that orc? Because if you don't search for them and find them, they're just a regular orc. You could kill them, just like you kill the other orcs in combat. They attack you and everything. So are you supposed to just swap that out for the bard figure, which is red, and obviously different than the green orc figures? Or do you just keep using that orc figure and just say, okay, well, an orc only, let's see, attacks with 3, defends with 2, has 1 body point, 2 mind points, and moves 8 squares? Or are you all of a sudden using this character who has, let's see, 5 body points, attacks with 2, defends with 2, I forget how many mind points he has, but I mean, he has completely different stats. He's got the 3 spells. I would interpret this as to mean that the bard only comes into play if you start out as him in this quest book, or if the first time somebody dies, if they want to, they can start controlling the bard once. And then with these guys, you don't use this figure at all. You just use just an orc figure, because you've got 4 different designs of orcs, 5 if you have mythic tier, which of course you have to have if you have this. And so you could just use one of those to represent the unique friendly orc. So anyway, that's how it is. But yeah, because otherwise, I guess the only thing that would change is that it says the ally is treated as a hero by all monsters and traps. So that means, because monsters don't fall into traps normally, they just walk right over them. So this new orc could fall into a trap and just die. You could give them potions, I guess. You could cast spells on them to help them out. I guess they would defend with shields, with white shields instead of monster shields, because normally an orc would defend with this. These are the classic dice. These aren't or a version of the classic dice, not the remake dice. But yeah, monsters defend with this. It's a 1 in 6 chance. Heroes and their allies would defend with this. There's a 2 out of 6 chance. So 1 in 3 chance. And would they use movement dice? Like rolling dice like this? Or would they just move 8 squares? So I guess there's some leeway for the player. So I'm going to just spoil it and show you what I'm talking about here. There's some discernment on Zargon's part, what he wants to do. He or she, because they're careful not to say which gender Zargon is. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to spoil it. So this is page 11 of the Spirit Queen's Torment. Okay. Characters begin on the stairs once Sigil is found. If a hero dies, they may play the Bard hero. See number 4, Bard hero dying on page 4. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, they do introduce the Sigil character. Okay, so that makes it sound like, let's see, that's C. And see, now I'm getting a little confused here. Okay, so that just looks like an orc. So that makes me think that, again, the bard just comes in if you start as him or if you die. But Sigil is just a regular orc figure, I would think, and has a regular stats of an orc, except he would suddenly defend with white shields once you've got him. And then the next time that would come up, again, spoilers, is Quest 5 on page 15. Okay, so let's read the text there. Zargon, you may tell everyone that in this quest they may use an action to search for the orc ally in any room where an orc is present. This action is similar to searching for secret doors, but may be done during combat and will identify Udren if she is present. So I spoiled a whole bunch of stuff there. Let's see. Udren is now controlled by the hero who identified her. See controlling allies on page 4. Okay, and there's a reward if she survives. So that makes me think that this Udren character is just, again, another orc. So like so, another orc. So again, you're only using the bard character. It would make the most sense to just use that bard character if the character dies or you start out with them. So I don't think there's any other cases of finding an ally. Let me look through the rest of this here because I could be doubting myself. So, okay, quest 6, the Erden character continues on. So if they're still alive, you play the quest with them. And let's see what else here. Just making sure I haven't missed this because I haven't played these yet. And again, I'm not doing this so that it's no fun to play it in the future. I'm just doing it because I want to tell you what the facts are as far as this goes. Because people go back and forth and they either think it's a good thing or a bad thing. They want to know what the controversy is and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there's 14 quests here, but it doesn't look like the Find Orc Ally is used again. So there's really 3 quests that this applies to. And then whatever quest, so I would treat the Orc Bard and then the Orc Ally as separate characters entirely. Because otherwise, let's say you're using the Bard figure and then one of the heroes dies. Like, you just can't come back. So you just use a normal Orc for the ally. And you've got enough Orc designs that it wouldn't be too confusing. So I'll show you what I mean, just because visual aids are always fun, right? So I will slowly open the box. Let me switch to, okay, so switch to the overhead view. This always takes a little while to open up. It's a big box. Sorry, these videos aren't quite as organized as the ones I did before because, again, it was just kind of a lot of last-minute stuff. I would have just put it on the forums. So let's see, orcs. Here we go. So let me switch back to the regular camera. Okay, so here's your remake set. This will be in heroic tier, so everybody gets this stuff. So you've got this orc here, which you could use as the big sword orc if you wanted to. Male orc. And then you've got another design here, another male orc with axe, the axe orc. Someone was saying that their faces looked like they were melted. I don't know about that. Melted? They're just kind of ugly by human standards. They're monsters after all. So there's two orcs there, so two designs to choose from. But then if you want your female orcs, you've got this one here, the machete. And then you've got this one here with the mace. So you got these four designs. So really, if you want to differentiate the orc ally from the others, you can do it. Because I don't think they throw so many orcs at you that you can't just say, okay, this one is going to be it, or this one will be it. But it would give away the surprise if you just suddenly have, you know, the bard figure just right there, and you know he's red, and it's like, oh, that's obviously the one that you're supposed to find. Kind of gives it away without any challenge. Because you can fail the quest. If you kill the person you were supposed to rescue, you say, oops, I was trigger happy. I killed all the orcs, and I was supposed to save one of them because they were on our side. They were defector, traitor. And I guess the other thing too is, as soon as you find that that ally, the other orcs are going to attack him and try to kill him. So there you go. So you could lose that way if you're not quick in your turns. The other thing is, since you've got the mythic tier, because everybody has it, there's another option for orcs. So you can have yet another design. Now this is a male orc, if that matters to you, because you can always just say it is whatever you want because it's a game. You've got this guy, so a hammer orc. See, so there's a fifth design, so you could use that as another. Now there's only two of these guys, but you could use that as another orc. Again, instead of the bard. So there's the bard. So I'm just going to go ahead and set this up just to show you real quick because visuals are fun. So you got those orcs there, orc there, orc there. Just hop up on the tables there. So you got all those different characters that you could use to make sure that you can keep track of which orc is which when you're trying to play the game, when you're trying to do the quest. See that? So between that, you should be able to keep them straight. But this would be the hero character, or one of your heroes croaks. You know what? I want to come back as the bard. So you're basically forcing them. You're giving them the option to play as a totally different character, which they may or may not like. But why would they trust this guy? He just jumps out of the shadows. I'm going to pick up that guy's gear, and now I'm on your side. Well, he's a pirate. I mean, who knows, right? You can make up your own story. But all things considered, I mean, it's kind of an interesting idea. They're obviously trying to push that new character, but they don't do the same with the warlock or the druid. So if you want to ignore those characters, you can. You can use them for something totally different. When I heard about the bard character, I thought he was kind of silly too. And I thought, well, why not just make him an NPC, make him a different character? And they didn't do that. Whoops. But, you know, you could do it in your own quest if you want to. Hero Quest is pretty open-ended. You can kind of do what you want. There aren't a lot of established standards and practices that force you to do anything. You just kind of do your own thing. So I've gone over the errata for the other books, so I'm not going to redo that. I know this video got kind of long. I kind of get into it. I kind of start going off in different directions, but there has been all this news. So, and then of course in Keller's Keep, everybody knows it's Karak Varn, the dwarven stronghold where the Emperor and his army is hiding out from Zargon's forces, and he's trapped there, and you got to go rescue him. Well, it's Kaba Karn in the new version, Kaba Karn instead of Karak Varn. And there's a whole bunch of stuff in the Warhammer world, the Warhammer fantasy world of these dwarven strongholds. And I've got a picture. I'm not going to put it up right now because I'm still working on it. But I was just imagining what would the world map look like if we took all the changes they made. But it's probably never going to be canon just because the map itself could be considered property of Games Workshop instead of Hasbro now because they're not working together anymore on the new Hero Quest. But what if they did that? See if I can find it. Again, too many tabs open, too many browsers. HeroQuest world map. So I'm just going to read off changes here. So it's the Sea of Talons now instead of the Sea of Claws. And it's the Realm instead of the Empire. The World's End Mountains instead of the World's Edge Mountains. The Dark Fire Pass instead of the Black Fire Pass. The Dark Mountains instead of the Black Mountains. The Bastion of Dread instead of the Bastion of Chaos. The Northern Dread Wastes instead of the Northern Chaos Wastes or the Southern Chaos Wastes. The other dwarven strongholds along the World's End Mountains would be, instead of Karak Azgul, it's Kaba Azgul, Kaba Azul. There's Karaz Karak. I wonder if that would be Karaz Kaba. There's Kaba Kadrin, Kaba Ungor. But I mean, all this is irrelevant to the game because just having a map to show you where everything takes place, I mean, gives the illusion of a bigger world, but for the gameplay purposes, doesn't matter. The North American players, we never got a map of the world. Now, European players did get a map on the back of the Return of the Witch Lord quest pack. So when you flip over the back, it would show the old world. It's like, oh, that's cool. So the Hero Quest world is bigger than we thought. Well, that map is taken straight from a page out of, I can't remember if it's Warhammer Fantasy Battle or Warhammer Fantasy RPG. Probably Battle, because RPG I think is from 2005. It's based on the same stuff, but Warhammer Fantasy Battle starts in 1987, I believe. Now the book that I was looking at a reprint of an old book, so it was 1991, I think was the date on it. So that would have been after Hero Quest, 1989. But the material goes back pretty early. So anyway, so lots of minutia there. But really, this is just a game where you're rolling dice, you're moving figures around a board. You're saying, I'm searching for treasure, and you draw a card. It's either something good or something bad, and you try to stay alive and complete the mission. Move your guys to the stairwell, and you're done. And you just keep doing that, and it's fun. It's nostalgic. It's simple. That's all you need to know. But if you really want to delve into the lore of the world, you really want to come up with a cool storyline to tell everybody before the quest or after the quest to give them a sense of accomplishment, that's what it is. But it's not a storytelling game. It's not a role-playing game. It's a board game. The roles are pretty straightforward. You got your barbarian, your elf, your wizard, your dwarf, and maybe, just maybe, you'll have a knight. I mean, maybe it's the female barbarian, maybe it's one of the henchmen or mercenaries in the barbarian quest pack, or maybe it's a brand new character. Maybe it's the paladin from Legacy of Sorasil. Maybe it's a totally new character we've never seen before. I think in the original version of Hero Quest, that no one's ever seen that Stephen Baker just talked about with the threefold board, and it was more like Dungeons and Dragons. There was actually a ranger, and the barbarian was called a warrior. He might have looked different. I don't think he looked like Howard's Conan the Barbarian character, or at least Arnold Schwarzenegger as Conan the Barbarian that people were familiar with from the 80s. But anyway, so I'm going to be on vacation, so I may miss some big new um, development in the HeroQuest world or fandom. But when I come back, I'll be sure to get caught up and leave you my comments. And everybody else will already know, but that'll be my opinion. So if you care, I'll be happy to share it then. But yeah, just wanted to go over that stuff. And if you really want to, go to Ye Olde Inn, dig into the lore, go check out the differences in the quest books. As far as, I mean, some of the quests are even different, slightly different. There's little changes here or there. But mainly it's the paragraph at the beginning and the end of the quest books. So Keller's Keep, Return of the Witch Lord, and the game system, as they call it. And then the rule book, the little, I guess they call it flavor text or story lore at the beginning there, and the glimpse into the world of HeroQuest. But mostly it's a bunch of word substitutions. And the European version is just a little richer, I think. It just has a little bit more story, a little bit more character, a little bit more flair. But once in a while, they'll just drop a kind of a bomb onto you as far as, oh yeah, by the way, that guy that you spent all this time rescuing, he was a traitor and we killed him. It's like, what? So that was a shock. But European players have known about that for 3 decades, so it wasn't a shock to them at all. And in the new version, people are just discovering it for the first time. It's kind of a cool thing because if you never played HeroQuest before and you got the remake, you're in for a lot of surprises. Or maybe you kind of vaguely remember the game, or maybe you grew up with the European version or the Japanese version, and all of a sudden you've got this new version, and you're wondering why the heck is it different than what I remember? Why did they change it? Well, some of the changes have been there all along, so not really changes, just a regional difference, and some of the stuff is legitimately a change, but you can see why they had to do it. All right, well, everybody stay safe. I'll see you next time on HeroQuest Fans. Thanks for watching and listening. Bye-bye.